Happy Halloween! This is Pastor Sidney of the All Faith Church of Liberation in Chicago and our friends in various cities around. Want to wave at them? I'll wave one hand and another hand, maybe 8 other hands. This is a Halloween costume I wore with my wife. In the first years of our house here, in 2008, 2009, people still trick-or-treated. Not so much in our neighborhood anymore do people trick-or-treat. But it reminds me that a lot of people in the Christian community, as well as the religious community in general, have a certain problem with this holiday, Halloween, which, of course, like Purim, like Fasching, like other cultural events over time and religious events, involves costumes, involves presentations of things that we want to be and that we're happy to be, and sometimes that we are glad that we're not. Because this is the day to get all that out of our system and just like really enjoy the fact that we can be free to be anyone we want to be, including maybe dressing up as a frog to confront a fascist state. And of course, one of the reasons that that this holiday is considered wrong by many Christian people and many other religious people is that it has to do with witches. It has to do with nature religion. It has to do with the mother religions that predate the Abrahamic religions, that predate a lot of other great religions that are very much hegemonic now in the world. And what is the... so it took me to see... I wanted to talk directly about that today. I want to talk about what is wrong with witches if you're a Christian. What is wrong with people who follow the mother rather than the father? I would take it then to the source, the King James Version, which is, as Dan McClellan has recently did a good video last week, isn't really so much a version of it itself, but a kind of a conservative version of the Bishop's Bible, which itself is based on something that William Tyndale, who was a great martyr for free thought, at the very least, if not for the true religion of what religion Christianity could be, burned at the stake, I believe, in 1536. He created a Bible that the King James Version was a version of, and a conservative version of. So the reason I like the King James Version is if I can prove that there's a goddess in the Bible and I can use the King James Version to do it, well, then I must be kind of ahead of the game because it is the most conservative, arguably, Bible. So let's look at that Bible verse right now, the famous one, which is Exodus 22:18. You do not suffer a witch to live. If you look at that rest of that chapter, there's a lot of other things very close to it, showing the mind of God going back and forth between wanting to assert something, but then aware that other things exist too. Let me just show you a couple different examples of that. Right there in 22:18, you say, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." And then 2 verses later in 20, "He that sacrifices unto any god, save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed." Then right the next verse is a very famous verse, 22:21, which says, "Thou shalt neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for ye were once strangers in the land of Egypt." So he's saying, don't sacrifice other gods, but at the same time, he's reminding us that we were in Egypt, where people are different than us. If you go further, verse 28, it says, "Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people." So in a way, it's hearkening back that even though we are a people who follow a particular god in that diaspora, why we have to be aware that other people will sacrifice to other gods, and we shouldn't revile them, even though we are supposed to sacrifice to ours first. Remember, he didn't say no other gods; he said no other gods before him. So let's back to the witch question. What made God so angry at witches in the old days, or at least the people of God writing so angry at witches in those days? Was it a rival power? Well, it was a rival power. It was the mother versus the father, and this has been the father against the mother ever since God and his mate Ashura, or eventually became Mother Mary, was separated from him, there was kind of an insanity of God. God had been kind of crazy and became very bitter. And this is something we see in the Old and New Testament, and even in the Quran and further things. In 1 Samuel 28, King Saul, who had been so sad and miserated by the destruction of his kingdom, the wars of the Philistines were rising against him, he was losing. He ended up dying on the field of battle by his own hand for fear of being raped by his enemy. Another story of sexual perversion gone the wrong way. That is a commentary throughout. But let me get back to that. He consults a witch in the 28th to try to talk to Samuel, who is the prophet who had left him, kind of cursing him. He brought him back from the grave, and Samuel cursed him again and said the Philistines are going to win. You're going to end up dead. And he was just sad. God had left him. God had left Saul. The people had left Saul. They were following after David. The Philistines were, of course, against Saul. Everybody was against Saul. His child Jonathan had died. Like, he was having a very bad, terrible life. And he asked a witch of Endor, famously, could you do this? Could you bring back this prophet so I could talk to him? And the witch was like, my God, that you've just yourself made this law. Actually, she didn't know it was him. She said, the king has made a law that says any witchcraft will be put to death. I can't do this for you. And so he came out and said, well, I am this king, and I need you to do this for me, so I'll not hurt you. And then what happens? Even the woman has risked her life to do this magic. And then she is, even though everybody in the world is sad, and King Saul will not eat, and his servants will not eat. And what happens at the end, at the very end? In the last 5 verses of 28, 20. Then Saul fell straight away all along the earth and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel, who had just cursed him and gone back to the grave. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all day, nor all into the night. And this is 21. And the woman came unto Saul, and saw he was sore troubled, and said unto him, Behold, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and have hearkened unto thy words which thou spakest unto me. Now, therefore, I pray thee, hearken also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, and that thou mayest have strength, and thou goest on your way. But he refused, and he said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, so the servants, the subordinate ones, together with this woman who was a witch, who was, cursed of the Lord, as well as the society, compelled him, together with the woman, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he rose from the earth and sat upon the bed. And the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they did eat. And they rose up, and they went away in that night. What is this saying? It's saying that the woman power, the goddess power, perhaps called devil by the judgmental of those who serve God, is more merciful than even God was being to Saul, more merciful than his people were being, more merciful than he himself was being because he was cursing himself, more merciful than Samuel the prophet was being, more merciful than the Philistines surely were. This one woman who was, a witch, just like now, is someone who's up against people's hatred for her magic and the things that she does. She had gone out of her way to help the king, and even though the king had nothing from it, he had lost Samuel had cursed him. It was this woman who has no name, the Witch of Endor. She's only known as the Witch of Endor. She said, I'm going to make food for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, even though I don't judge you. I mean, this is what God is saying throughout the Bible. He's like reaching for beyond his own ability as a God, too perfect for the world. He's reaching to the mother of the earth to be merciful. And that's one of the reasons that, our church has a lot of people in it who really like Halloween. We have people who also have different opinions about it, of course. No one tells I'm not going to tell people what to do. What is a pastor anyway but someone of the original faithful who was asked by the original faithful to go do the job of the pastor? That's our church. Our elders make us a pastor. There is nothing higher than pastor in our churches. I'm a founding pastor, and we're the founding congregation. But there's other congregations, other people. They have just as many rights as we do. They can be completely independent of us. Their money is theirs. We are not trying to be, another magisterium. We're not trying to be a church that is a cathedral church or a high church. We're trying to help people in their own communities build the churches that they already have among them if they just realize it. The people call me pastor, and that's why I'm a pastor. They asked me to be a pastor. All that is to say that our church tries to have the mother and the father both, and tries to not have judgment, and tries to not, command people, oh, you must have this doctrine or that doctrine. We live and let live. We allow each other to have freedom and to have disagreement, because disagreement, on our Sunday services is just having people talk about the scriptures that they want to bring up, and we just talk about them. There's no one that says, oh, it must be this. Even me, I don't say, oh, it must be this. I learn as well as teach. They learn as well as teach. That's what I want to just, say to you all, that we need to understand all the costumes we wear is for a higher purpose, which is to let ourselves be free and to let God shine through us any way he does. And the reason that the witchcraft is so hated is because it's a power that is not God's, but it is a power that could indeed be married to God like it was in the original days. The idea of Ashura and Yah together, the Ashura and Yahweh together. These are people that we need to both be ourselves. We have a male part, we have a female part, we have a goddess part and a god part. Let us fuse it together in the sign of Jesus Christ and have a happy Halloween.